Hi friends, that's Olga, and in this video I would like to demonstrate capabilities of Postbot for API testing. What is Postbot? Postbot is an AI code assistant in Postman which helps users to simplify their API testing. And in which way? By enabling users to create and execute tests without writing any code. And for demonstration purposes, I selected Trello, which is a visual project management tool which helps to organize tasks in Kanban style. It can be used for both personal needs and for large projects. Trello has pretty detailed API documentation, which supports not only GET requests, but all the CRUD operations. So that's why I selected this particular tool for their demonstration purposes. Let's start. First, what we need to do, we need to create a collection and add requests into it. This is the part which has to be done purely manually, because Postbot does not create collections. For the collection, I want to cover this flow: get all the boards, create a list, add a new card into this list, update created card, update created lists, delete created card. Let's proceed. This is get boards request. Send request, get response to 100 and see that everything is fine. Then create a new list with a name to do, send request and see that everything is successful. Then I would like to create a new card on this list. This is the request. And we observe that on the board there is a new list with a name to do and a new card with the name to do task 1 on it. Let's update created card name and list name. Here it is. Updated card name to do task 2, updated list name in box instead of to do. So we are ready to demonstrate Postbot capabilities in creating scripts. First, when we create a list, we need to reuse the ID for the future requests. So let's go to the create list request. And we may see that there is a test which is already there. I would like to delete it and ask Postbot, hey, let's generate a script to assign the value of ID field to the variable ID list. It's working. And we see that there is a script here. Let's send and see whether the ID was really created. So in order to create a card, we need this list, ID list variable, and we see that there is a value in it. So it looks like it was correct. Let's check. This is lists on the board. This is the list which we created. It has ID ending with 0A9A. Let's see the card. See? The ID is the same. Okay, that's good. Next, we would like to see how Postbot generates tests for this request. Let me select get request and ask Postbot to generate tests for this request. And what I would like to highlight here, that the response body contains a lot of information. You see, it's pretty long list. These are the tests which Postbot created, and the main scripts usually cover some basic checks, such as response status code check, response time check. Usually it checks the structure, the fields, and also the data types. So here are the data types and here are the fields. So it looks pretty fine. And what I would like to show you is that if we update the request in a way that we would like to specifically get the particular fields, like here, we see only these 3 fields over there in the request body. So these are the tests which also were generated by the Postbot. And we see that the number of fields is lower over there. So what I would like to highlight here is that Postbot generates tests only by the response body. So depending on what you put here in the request, we will get a particular response result and particular tests based on this response. Next, I would like to show how Postbot generates tests for the whole collection. Let's go to the runner and put all the request collection over here. Probably let's skip this one. Click run. And we see that there are almost no tests actually, and only those tests which were created just a few seconds ago. So there is nothing interesting here, but there is a button, generate tests, and this is the magic which happens with the help of Postbot. Let's see. Postbot is working on it. We see that in a couple of seconds, a whole bunch of test cases were created, and it saves a lot of time, I would say. And we can expand each and every test and see whether we are fine with it, whether it has sufficient quality, and in case not, we may do some modifications. So let's save them and get back to our collection. So these are the scripts which were created by Postbot. I think that after that a user may go through the created tests and see whether some modifications or optimizations are needed, but anyway, a lot of time was saved by this exercise. Let me share my thoughts regarding the Postbot and its capabilities in terms of time, quality and price. And here are what we have. In terms of time for test generation is the major advantage. Postbot generates tests very quickly and it saves a lot of time. Consider these numbers. Our collection is pretty small and contains 14 requests only. And if an average request should be covered by 3.5 tests, it means that we need to generate 50 tests. Postbot generated them in less than a minute. Manual test generation time depends on the skill set of a user who will perform this exercise. If the generation time is 10 minutes per test for a particular user, the whole collection will be covered by tests in approximately 8 hours. The difference becomes even more dramatic in case of a bigger collection. So 50 requests should be covered by 175 tests, and Postbot will generate them in 3.5 minutes, while the manual generation will take around 29 hours. So you see, that's a lot. In terms of time for tests execution, there is no particular difference for similarly written tests. And what about quality? First, let's see what Postbot does. It generates the scripts based on the response body. It creates basic tests such as check for the response status code, for the response time, for the response fields and data types. Postbot extracts data. For example, we can get data from the response body and use it for the future. And also Postbot can suggest improvements. And what Postbot does not do? Postbot does not rely on open API documentation when generating tests. It only relies on the response body. It is also cannot create collections. That's something that user has to perform manually, and unfortunately this is the most time-consuming part. Also, Postbot does not create complex tests, so it generates only basic tests, and for complex scenarios which require more advanced logic, Postbot can be less helpful. And tests can be not optimal. And what about price? Initially, I was playing around with Postbot in other account, and at a certain point of time, while I was trying to generate tests, there was a message saying that I have reached the limit of Postbot usage for this month. So I started to Google it, and it says that Postbot free usage is limited for 50 activities per user per month. And a Postbot activity is not only test generation, it's any interaction with Postbot, writing documentation, providing some support and improvements, debugging requests, and so on. And this limitation is reached quite soon. So for additional usage, users can purchase the add-on, and here are the prices. In summary, Postbot is a helpful tool and especially helpful for those who is lacking programming or JavaScript knowledge, and especially helpful for big collection of requests. Let me know your comments. Thank you for watching.